Welcome, everyone. And today we're going to focus on past life regression again. Um, and good morning, Anna. How are you? Anna's my assistant.
Here in Mexico, it's been so hot, so I'm well, but
Good.
very humid weather.
Really? Yeah. It's good for your hair, though, have humidity. Yeah.
It is, but the water is different to the other country. So here, it's very, I don't know how to describe it, but the sensation of the water in your hair at the beginning is not great.
No, because of the
No,
salt water, because
hmm
it's salty.
it's
Yeah.
very salty.
Yeah. I used to live in Puerto Rico on the beach or about a block from the beach. And yeah, it's a different kind of air. So
You
um,
must have a very curly hair, like a great afro.
yeah, it gets very curly. I like it though, because then I can wear it longer and it still curls. So it has more body to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so welcome everybody. And Anna, I think you have some questions that were sent in or that we accumulated from a different class. And what questions do you have?
Well, we have questions about interesting topics about past life because there are not in one topic. We have many, so we put all them in past life topic in general. So my first question is, did everyone alive today have a past life?
Yes. Yes, if you are alive today, you will have had a multitude of past lives. So there's no way that a consciousness could come into being. Now, you don't have to have a past life on Earth. You don't have to have incarnations here on this planet or this plane even of existence. You can have incarnations other places. But if you exist, you will have had lifetimes somewhere. Yes, you will have multiple lifetimes.
But that means like it's it's difficult to understand, I guess, because that means that there's no new souls, or it's kind of that what I'm understanding.
Right. Right. And so the use of, and by the way, anybody here can type in questions in the chat box if you're coming up with questions when I'm talking as well. Right. The use of the term new soul and old soul is confusing at best. Um, I don't know who decided to start using those terms. I know 40 years ago we weren't using those terms. So that's sort of a pop metaphysics idea that somebody came up with. And in actuality, um, I think that when somebody is referring to someone as a new soul or an old soul, they're really referring to how advanced or wise the person seems to be. So imagine there are plenty of people out there on our planet right now who are not really moving ahead spiritually. They're not really, taking their lessons, learning from them, um, moving to the next level, striving, gathering information, letting it impress them, letting it shape their character. They're just rolling along, doing the same thing every day, going to work, coming home, have a beer, watch some TV, whatever. Um, and so that person, if that happens lifetime after lifetime and that person isn't really growing, they are not going to be that wise, evolved soul that we might call an old soul. Somebody might say, oh, they're just a new soul, but they may have had, a million lifetimes, but they just haven't evolved. They just have not, progressed or come to any new levels. On the other hand, somebody who we might call an old soul would likely be somebody who we recognize that they have evolved. They are taking in the wisdom, they are taking in those experiences, letting those affect them, shape them, change them, transform them into something, allowing their consciousness to grow. And so I never use the term old soul and new soul because, first of all, it's confusing to whoever you're talking to because you may not be defining the words in the same way, right? So to use those terms, you'd actually have to define what is it you mean by a new soul or an old soul. Um, and for me, it's, how much has the person been growing and changing rather than how many times have they incarnated. Someone who, someone may incarnate a lot, but not really allow those experiences to shape them or evolve them. And another soul may incarnate a lot less frequently, I guess the word is. So a lot less frequently, but each of those incarnations are heavily, impacting, they really go after some, that purpose. They stay on their purpose and they're really gathering that information. And so therefore, even though they've had maybe fewer incarnations, um, they have evolved more. So does that help you, Anna?
Yeah.
It's a lot of explanation, but I would just be really careful with a lot of the terms that are being used in the New Age metaphysical circles and really ask people to define what they mean by these words, because a lot of things are just kind of thrown out there as if we all are on the same page with what it means, or that it's even a real concept. They just throw these words out there that sound good, um, or sound like they know what they're talking about but if you ask them to define that or to explain it, they really don't understand what they're talking about. So just be careful with your words. Words affect things. So
Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I have another question that came through email, and this person is describing then. Well, this person said, "When I'm trying to fall asleep, I often see what feel like memories of things happening to me that I know didn't happen in this life. Historical clothing, events that don't match with any situation I ever been in. Are those necessarily from past lives, or are there other options?"
There could be other options. It could just be that it's a memory of a movie you watched, or it could be just some way that your subconscious mind is processing a book you read, or just some kind of information. It could be a metaphor that your subconscious mind is creating. But um, we can often visit past lives in our dream time. And well, especially falling asleep, during that time when we're falling asleep or just waking up, we're in that um, state of mind that allows us to be much more strongly connected to our subconscious mind. But during our sleep time, one thing is that we may just be accessing those memories to past lives. But another thing that happens is when we sleep, oftentimes we'll astral project up off of the body, right? And so we're in the astral. So lucid dreaming is astral projection. And then we could just, do astral projection. So we lift up off of the body. And then once we're there, you can go anywhere, almost. I mean, you can go almost anywhere. So say if you have something on your mind, maybe it's a problem that you need to resolve, or a situation you're in that um, needs to have clarifying, or you're just thinking of you know, a relationship with somebody. You know, it could be anything that might be happening in your life now. And then when you're dreaming, because you can go anywhere in time and space. So if you're thinking, oh, I wonder what it would be like to be in the Epoque, Belle Epoque of Paris in, you know, 1920s or whatever. And if that's something that's a burning desire, then perhaps you go there in your astral projection during sleep. Um, so you know, if and the reason I bring up it could be a problem that you're solving, or one of these other things. If there's something that's really playing on your mind, something that you're focused on and thinking about quite a bit, then um, you know, your subconscious mind will take you somewhere where that could be resolved for you. So it could be just earlier in your childhood, or it could go to a past life. So, you know, maybe you're trying to figure out you know, how to be in a relationship with a certain person, or you're thinking about who you're, you know, maybe you're pregnant and you're thinking about who is this baby, and you're thinking about it so strongly that when you sleep at night, you go and you visit past lives when you've been together, for instance. That would be a good example. um, so so more than likely I would be looking at those those memories of being in different costumes and all of that as probable lifetimes, even though, like I said, it could be a metaphor that your subconscious mind is using, or it could just be processing a movie or a book or something like that. But it, you know, again, you'd have to realize what it feels like to be in a past life. So if you're if you're in there, if you're just looking at the costumes, you're a spectator or an observer, then there may even be more questions as to whether is that a past life, or is that just some novel or movie that I'm processing. But if you're part of the scene and you're moving around and, you know, part of the action and wearing the costumes and everything, it would be probably more likely that it's a past life. Now, you know, having said that, imagine if you're an actor or an actress in this lifetime and you do westerns and you do Victorian era and you do, you know, something in the wilderness in Scotland, and, you know, all these different times and periods and costumes and things. I think it would be very interesting and perhaps challenging to come back and do a past life and then see yourself in all those costumes and all those scenes, you know, actually acting out all of those little vignettes or stories or movies. So that would be a particular type of challenge, I would imagine.
I have a question. Um, I think it's not a easy question, or maybe I don't know. But what do you, if you go to your past life, you have the images, or you can feel, or you can, well, your sense play the game with it. In the time you're doing a past life regression, right? You're experimenting that. But while you're going in the dream, you have said that we go to different dimensions too, or we can go anywhere.
Not
But
dimensions, well, not dimensions, different
okay,
lifetimes,
different lifetimes.
different places.
The,
Yeah, it would be harder to do different dimensions because we can't really perceive of that. But go ahead. So different
is
lifetimes.
there a way to differentiate how is a real past life? Like in our dream, we are going to a real past life, or we are creating in our mind, basing in a movie, or our desires too.
That's a question? Was that a
Yeah.
question?
Yeah,
Okay.
how we can differentiate that?
How can you differentiate? Okay. So, well, you know, even when you first start doing past life regression, it's a little bit hard to differentiate. You know, am I making it up, or am I really experiencing this? So with practice, that's going to become more evident to you. Um, and one of the things with past life regression is going back and experiencing it over and over again so that you can get more details. But because our our memories could be true, but they may not be accurate. So, as we regress to a lifetime, our memories could be very faulty. We have faulty memory just remembering 2 weeks ago, or 10 years ago, or 3 decades ago. Our memories are not that perfect, and now we're talking about going back 500 years through maybe 10 different death cycles, death and birth, trying to remember that specific thing and expecting ourselves to be accurate. So what happens is, part of the ways that you, in a regression, that you can differentiate the difference between making it up and actually experiencing it would be that there's emotions involved. All right. So you're actually engaged emotionally as well as intellectually with the environment or the people or the situation at hand. Maybe something makes you very sad or very scared or very happy. Um, and then also, we're looking for surprise elements. If you would expect something to go this way, but then you're like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. Oh, I didn't realize it would go this direction. That's probably more coming from a memory of what actually happened rather than what you, from this perspective, would have expected or assumed would happen. So looking for surprise elements, looking for emotional involvement, and then going back again and again and cleaning up those memories and honing it. But it also, there's another factor that comes in that, when you're making things up, it's really happening up here in this frontal lobe. And you can practice, if you tell a lie, for instance, you can kind of feel the activation happening up here if you're really sensitive. And then once you like are talking from memory, you can start to feel it coming from the back side of your head, deeper in, are where those memories are being stored. And and there's just more of a knowing about that, about it feeling right, you know. But it does take practice, just like anything. We're looking at subtle senses. So the same with psychic vision or clairsentience or any of the subtle senses. Again, we need to practice, get verification, practice, and have a lot of feedback to see about the accuracy. And then you start to feel the difference. Do you have
Okay.
an, do you have another question?
Yeah, I do. It's kind of different, but do the illnesses from past life we can carry on in our current life?
Oh, the illnesses?
Mhm.
Okay. Oftentimes we have um, syndromes and conditions, physical things that are happening on our physical body that do relate to other lifetimes. Um, I've had people that have, let's say, a scar, and then when they do a regression, they realize that they were shot with an arrow right in that location, or they might have a birthmark of some sort, and then we can go in and we can find out why it's in a specific position. But I think the most notable example of the past life connection to physical illness is with fibromyalgia. I've had several clients come in, and one most notably where she had constant pain moving throughout her body. So, every day there would be several locations and there would be a lot of pain. And how we handled that was we just started with what pain was she having in that moment. And in her case, it was a shoulder. And so when we went into the pain, and we have specific techniques we can use for that, I put her into trance, and we actually went to the pain first, not a regression. Because in this case, in her case, I hadn't really worked with this before. So I was just open to finding out why she was experiencing the pain. But when we went in there, we ended up doing 3 different past lives just in this one location, where she had had lifetimes where she had a severe injury there. And, I think one of them even caused a death. And so there was a lot of trauma right to that area. So once we saw those past lives, the pain went away. It was like her subconscious mind was just wanting to draw her attention to that, to resolve the trauma in each of those lifetimes. So when we went into the past life, we actually did the healing there. So we accessed it by going through the pain. But then when we got into the past life, we actually did the healing in the past life and reduced the trauma that she carried forward. And so then when that pain went away, I said, "How do you feel?" And the pain had moved. And I can't remember all the details, but then it moved like to her hip and her knee and her other shoulder and her back. And I mean, we just followed this thing through the whole session, and we just did layer after layer after layer of regressions. And then as soon as we did all of the regressions that were pertaining to a particular place, the pain went away. And so later, when I was working with her in subsequent sessions, she said the pain in those specific areas that I worked on never came back. So, I mean, she would have pains in other places. And so we would just continue the work. We'd have to go in and do regressions, and, as they would pop up, we would just do the past lives. But we didn't really do any other kind of therapy, and it was pretty well resolved, which is interesting because the medical community has no answer whatsoever for fibromyalgia. They just say, well, we can't do anything. We'll just give you medicine to control the pain. So
So that can be an effect of carry on traumas from past life, right?
exactly. So imagine all the past lives where we didn't have therapy offered. In most lifetimes, you would either go to a shaman, or you might go to your minister. you know I mean, in thousands of lifetimes, we didn't really have psychotherapy or hypnotherapy or any kind of way to resolve these things. So whatever traumas we had or problems we had in lifetimes, when we die, they're just still there, right? That trauma is still within our soul and our memories. And so then that just keeps rolling over to lifetime after lifetime, pushing that forward. So one of the valuable things I think a person could do in any given lifetime would be to, um, try to dig up as many things as possible, right? Traumas and fears and insecurities or whatever it is, just dig them up and process them, so that you're not like pushing all that legacy forward into your future lifetimes. If you're here listening, or you already have figured out that you're looking for these resources to do personal growth, one of the important things to do would be to process all of these things that you don't want to carry forward in your next lifetime. You don't know how many decades it'll take you in the next lifetime to find someone, or to find out what therapies would work to clear all of that. So it's just a good idea to take care of it.
But how about when you have cancer or diabetes? Is were the same too? That means that is coming from a trauma too, or it's different explanation?
It could come from something. with diabetes, they talk about life not being sweet enough. Um, and so there's certainly ways to go in and help people with pretty much anything. I mean, I would recommend hypnotherapy, maybe past life. It just depends on the case, but I would certainly recommend hypnotherapy as an adjunct to whatever medical treatments you're having, just because it can either ease the pain or reduce the anxiety. And sometimes, where we'd really be looking is what are the underlying causes. I have, hold on a second. I have this book, and it's a huge book,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
It's a huge book, and it lists every single issue that a person could have. It's called Messages from the Body. It's not well put together, and I don't think he's totally on board, but it is actually pretty good. And but it goes into a lot of detail about um, the causation of physical ailments, and then you can look that up and see if it relates. I use the book oftentimes with my clients, and they may list a few different causes, and usually my clients will say, well, yeah, that part made sense, and it opens up the conversation of, well, maybe we need to go look at this family of origin issue, or this type of abuse that you've suffered. So it could be emotional issues, it could be attitudes or anything. He mostly comes from this place that it all stems from, the family of origin, having a dominating mother or a demanding father or an absent parent or something, some kind of dysfunctional family. And I don't think it has to be that. Um, but a lot of, I've seen, like, cancer, for instance, is oftentimes related to anger. And it could be anger in this lifetime, it could be anger in another lifetime or carried over. But then the location will be pretty specific as to what that anger or oppression has been, or where it, how it's targeted will pinpoint what organ it's going to affect or what part of the body the cancer will affect. Um, so that always gives me a reminder that if I get really upset about something, I think, is this really worth it? Because it's going to, I'm going to be the one who's most affected by my anger, by my negative emotions. It's not throwing it out there for anybody else. It's really, it's, you know, in order to push an emotion out there, there's an equal and opposite force, right? So if I'm angry that way, then there's an equal force coming back at me. And if I'm angry a lot, then I'm getting hit with that more than anybody else, right? Um, and so then that's going to be affecting my body more than anybody else. So um, yeah, so when I'm experiencing those things, I always check myself and go, is it really going to be worth me getting sick over, to start some kind of negative syndrome? And then, you know, and then you just move on and get on with your life.
I know, but it's difficult to control. In my case, my problem is in my stomach, right? But it doesn't happen when I'm angry. It's even if I'm excited or I'm so happy about any news or something, any emotion that I feel goes through my stomach.
Uh,
So I have a very bad stomach issues because of that. And then I know that is kind of, I need to control that emotions, but yeah, I know how affects.
I'm looking, I think I have your chart, but I'm looking here.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I don't have it. Because I was going to say it might come from um, having wherever you have cancer in your, the sign cancer.
I was like, okay.
Oh, not cancer. Yeah, no, I don't have it saved here in this particular file. So anyway, let's not worry about that. But Yeah, so you'd have to be careful about that, huh? Wow.
Yeah. But well, let's continue.
Okay.
I have a big question, and then I want to know what are the reasons for a soul to be reborn?
The reasons for a soul to be reborn. Well, the big primary reason we incarnate is because that's how we are going to maintain our consciousness and existence. Okay. And if you've been on previous phone calls, consciousness and existence are the two primary axiomatic things that we need to be here at all. We need to exist, and we need consciousness so that we are aware that we exist. We need existence so we have something to be aware of, right? So those have been debated as to which is primary. So I just call them equally axiomatic. Um, since Plato, I think they've been arguing which comes first, existence or consciousness. But you really can't have one without the other. So everybody argues one side or the other. Um, and so we need that, because without coming back, we don't, I mean, by coming back, let's put it in the positive terms. By coming back, we gather more experiences. We can remind ourselves of certain colors or flavors, or have that ability to connect with people and have that physical connection as well. Where if you're out in the astral and you're a spirit, but you're not in an incarnated body, first of all, there aren't as many tests or as many ways to grow and learn. And spirits out there really long for the physicality of being in a physical body. That's why spirits, they fight over somebody to come into, they may fight over a baby, trying to see who is actually going to be able to incarnate in that baby, because it's very much um, a privilege. We think of, oh, spirit is elevated and it's so high, and I'm just a lowly physical being, right? Like that's the goal. But from the physical side, when you talk to entities out there, they see it as we are the extension. I mean, we have spirit, we are already connected, and we are spirit just like them, but we also have a physical body, which they don't have. So in from their perspective, we're actually privileged. Maybe we're brave, courageous, or maybe we came in because we were scared and we just didn't know how to handle the astral, so we just needed that. But we do need to incarnate into physical bodies in order to further that growth, and uh, elevate, evolve our soul. Was that what the question was? Why do we incarnate? Is
Yeah.
that okay? Yeah, that's the main one. Some people come back, I guess this is more about what they choose, but, if they're addicted to something, like alcohol, drugs, food, sex, shopping, um, I mean, there's tons of things we get addicted to and compulsive about. And out there, none of that exists. It doesn't exist in the same way. So some people are going to be incarnating compulsively just to be able to continue with this compulsion that they have. Um, um, yeah. And then sometimes we come back because, hopefully we come back because we know that we have a purpose, and we come back because we want to continue it. We're driven towards a certain goal. And sometimes we come back because we see our soul family out there, or maybe I'm out here and I see my soul family here, and they're working on things, and I should be working with them. And I can, from here, I can advise and kind of clear energy and do different things. But maybe I see that I really need to get in there. I need to be physical. I need to be among them so that I can help them either with that goal, or I can take advantage of them helping me with that goal. It can go either way. Or maybe some of the members of my soul family are floundering, and maybe I know that if I'm there, I can help them be stronger, or say the right word, or teach them something, or in some way help that. Or it could just be that, I want to be with a loved one. So some people just want to keep reincarnating to be with certain people just for the pleasure of it, for the love of it. So there's a lot of reasons. Each person may have an individual reason, but the majority of it is that we're going to have to incarnate anyway. So it's just a matter of when and where and with whom.
Can we reincarnate without wanting?
Yeah, without wanting to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. Also, it happens that way also. I have a client that I worked with who's actually a friend now, but it was way back, oh my gosh, over 20 years ago. And she said, oh my gosh, I've had such a hard time, and dysfunctional family and all this. And she goes, why did I come in here? Right. And that was what she was looking at. And we did this regression, but what was interesting is then we went between lives to just before this life, so she could figure out why she came into this family. And she said, oh my God, I don't want to do this. My guides told me I have to. I'm so resistant. And she said, and I've turned myself around so that I won't come out. So she turned herself to be a breech, to be breech baby. And she didn't know this about herself, but she goes, I've turned around and they're going to have to take me out if they want me out of here, because I'm not going. And they took her breech baby, or cesarean, or however they had to do it. And then afterwards, she called her mother and she said, by any chance, was I a breech baby? And her mom said, yes, you were. So she had actually seen that in a regression. But she didn't want to come in at all. And I've seen it happen in a few cases, but generally not. Generally there's a reason why somebody's coming in, or yeah, a goal that they're trying to reach.
Okay, you mentioned that when we die, we go to the it's not the world between lives, but we supposed to go that place. Sorry?
To the astral. You said we're supposed to go what? To a bad place?
Yeah, where are we going?
Oh, to heaven or hell, you mean?
No, not heaven or hell. Well, my main question is that when we die, we're supposed to go somewhere. And then there's spirits, well, from what we know, the paranormal side, sorry, there's a spirit that stay here. What happened to them? Why the spirits could stay here? Or there's like a...
Oh, I see what you're saying. So that's another one of those things that have been popular in metaphysical thought, that you die and somehow you have to go to the light, that you have to cross over something, that being in the astral isn't good enough. But it's really not true. I mean, that is where you are. There's no place further to go unless you go to another plane or another incarnation or something. The astral is it. So that kind of languaging is always interesting for me, because everything in the astral is light. It's either nothingness or light, but that even in a dark room, if you have a light, everything is glowing, right? So every spirit is going to have, a shimmer, a light, is going to glow or have some kind of vibration. And so it's not like we're out in the middle of this blackness and there's a light that you need to go towards, because believe me, if that were true, people would go there because that's all there is. Like if you're in a really dark place and you see a light, you're probably more likely to go towards that light. In the dark forest, there's a house with a light, you're going to go over there, right? um, but in the astral, everything is varying tones of light. And so it doesn't make any sense when somebody says go to the light. What does that mean? Because you're going to be surrounded with light, and there could be big beings that are maybe glowing, people or beings, entities, spirits that have more density. So maybe glow stronger, right? Just like if you're at night and you have a bunch of street lights, maybe some are brighter, or headlights on cars, some are brighter and some are dimmer, but you can see them all. They're all lights. And there's maybe darkness around that, but then there's the headlights. It's a little different in the astral because, it's not like my light is beaming in this direction and you're going to see it if you're in front of me. My light is everywhere. There's nothing that's
It's not a tunnel.
I'm not I'm not in a shell of some sort with a beam coming out the front. I'll be glowing in all directions, as will you, and will everybody, right? Like a bunch of fireflies. Um, and so we're out there like that. So if you say go to the light, that's going to be just as confusing as if you don't tell them anything, because they're going to look around and they're going to see all these lights. And like I said, if a big being, a strong, dense, energetic form of an entity or a spirit is going to shine very brightly, but it doesn't mean that they're good or they have your best interest at heart. Maybe, but you're going to have to discern that. There's going to be a lot of bright ones out there, but you still have to figure out who that individual is and what their intention is and what their capabilities are and all of that. So, yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, a lot. So what do you mean when you say my guide? So who are they, or what are they?
My guide, like
Or
spirit.
our guides in general?
Well, that's a big topic. We should have a day that we talk about spirit guides.
Yeah.
So, that's a big topic. Okay, so everybody does not have a spirit guide. Everybody thinks they do, but it's not true. Not a real spirit guide. They may have dead people talking to them. They may have somebody whispering to them or talking to them or around them. Could be a loved one. But I want you to think about this for a minute. In all of the world, I mean, we've got billions of people, right? In all of the world, how many people would you turn to and put your trust in to guide you in, most areas of your life, that would take, that they would have the interest to take enough interest in you to really know who you are as a soul and what you need to do next on your path? It's very complicated, you know, that would have the sight to look forward, maybe even lifetimes, to see what you need to do to, to further your path, that would devote the time to paying attention to your welfare, to hang out when they, all those entities, whether they're a spirit guide or a dead person, they all have purpose too, and they all need to incarnate. They all have stuff to do, right? It's, and we're expecting a spirit guide to be dedicated 24/7, for my benefit, to watch out and make sure that, no car hits me or no negative energy, to make sure that I'm healed, you know, to guide me on every decision I'm going to make, to open doors of opportunity and to shield me from, you know, problems. How many, how many people, even in this world, would you turn that responsibility over to, or expect them to take you on as a responsibility? I mean, can you think of one, two?
No.
I mean, even if it would, you know, let's say, oh, the Dalai Lama, right? Really? Does he have time? Does he care? Maybe he cares, but you know, I mean, can you really think about that? So now these billions of people that are in this world all think that there's some spirit up there that has that talent, that patience, that focus and dedication and sight and skill to protect you and to move mountains. Um, you know, as though there are a billion of them out there that can just do that. So I know this sounds like the bad news, right? It's like, well, what? Um, so here's the deal. There are spirit guides. Sometimes we share them with other people, you know, that they can kind of like, okay, you're okay for the moment. I'll go over here like a babysitter, right? The kids are taking a nap now, so I'm going to go over here and work with these kids. Um, so, um, you know, so they might be working with multiple people. They might be working with just you. If you want to have a really good, well, so first of all, if you think about it, if you are on a track like the PhD of spiritual evolution, you want to grow, you are willing to lay yourself down, you know, for this spiritual growth, you're going to attract some pretty powerful guides. But if you're kind of kicking back and saying, yeah, I'll get around to it, it's interesting, I'll dabble, you're not going to get the PhD professor level spirit guide. They're just not going to be that interested. You need a kindergarten teacher. You can have a dead person who just kind of looks out for you, right? A babysitter. So you're not going to attract that because they have better things to do. If they're really those um, elevated spirit guides, they are on a mission. They have things to do. And it does not include sitting around all day, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for you to wake up and get inspired and get moving on your path, right? And so, sure, you can have spirit guides, but more than likely, you know, maybe it's your dead mother, you know, your mom dies and she loves you so much and she comes around, but she's not going to have, you know, she's going to be some version of your mother, right? She's not going to be suddenly omniscient and have all of this expertise. I've worked with some fairly elevated spirit guides, and even they make mistakes. They're not omniscient. You know, they can miscalculate just like the rest of us, but then bring it down to the level of just a dead person. And they're going to have their own agenda too. You know, Aunt Mabel, who died, that was always in your business and thinking she needed to tell you all about how to run your marriage or something. She's just going to be like that out there, right? Um, and oftentimes we're attracting, people are attracting whisperers. So a lot of channeled information is not really being channeled by the, you know, ascended masters that they claim, but maybe they know enough to speak a good game, you know. I mean, if I was dead and somebody wanted to listen to me, you know, I could have some really good messages that I give them. And, you know, and I would get all that attention, right? A lot of entities just, I mean, look around, you know, as above, so below. So look around, all these people out there that want attention, you know, are giving the message that people want to hear so that they can have that attention. Like, I don't think anybody else is going to tell you that, about spirit guides in the way that I do, because I'm trying to be really honest with you. But most people are going to say, oh, you all have elevate, Michael, Archangel Michael is your spirit guide. I know 100 people who have Archangel Michael for a spirit guide, like he doesn't have anything else to do, right?
Yeah.
And, and he's the guide for, 1,000 people on top of everything else he's doing. So, but a lot of people are just telling people what they think they want to hear, because that gives them an audience. And the same thing will happen with certain guides. So when I'm talking with spirit guides, I will grill them. Are you here for my best interest? What is your intention? And even things that they tell me, I'll question them on it, and I run it through my own value system, my own reasoning abilities, my own knowledge of things. And if I don't understand, I will question them, you know and just and they're not, my guides don't give me a bunch of good news. Typically they might, a little pat on the shoulder, oh, that was nice. But most of the time they're telling me, you know, you're late, you're slow, you're not getting it, you got to do better, you've got to do more. I mean, they're and telling me the bad news so I can prepare for it. These things are coming. What do you want to do? Right? Instead of, oh, you're so wonderful and you're doing such a good job. No, I don't really get that a lot. I mean, they mean well, and this is how I want it. I don't need the good news. Surprise me with good news, but warn me about the difficult stuff to come.
And
Uh,
then how do you find out you have guides? How did you know you have them?
well, I do a lot of work. So, um, yeah, you can do it, meditate, listen, feel them, question them. But in hypnotherapy is really a good way to find them. Going into trance, using hypnotherapy, and um, discovering them then. And even so, I mean, I've had clients come in and a spirit guide will show up and I will grill them. Who are you? Why are you here? How long have you been here? Are you here for their best intention? And they don't mind, they don't mind. And I've had spirit guides come for clients, and they'll say, no, I'm not really their spirit guide. I'm not here for their best intention. It's like, okay, move along.
So you
Move.
can have a spirit around you that with no good intention.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That happens too. Yeah. That's why you need to really discern that. But the more you grow, the more you work, the more you're willing to do for your own growth, the more you're going to attract good guides. I mean, it's just like, um, in school, like your professor, there's, you go into biology class and there's kids that are taking it because they have to and they don't care and they barely get by and they don't want to study. But then there's the other students who are like asking questions and wanting to know and kind of doing their own work on the side because they're trying to figure stuff out, and they're coming to the professor. Who do you think the professor is going to be interested in teaching? Right? The second one, right? There, here's a person that has aptitude, has talent, interest, curiosity, is self-motivated, wants to do this, they're interested in this topic. They're going to take interest in that student. And the other ones, it's like, okay, I'll give you a C and you need to just move on because you're not going to go anywhere on this topic. And so the the issue of spirit guides is very, very similar. If they see, they sense it, they'll read and they'll see this person really working hard and really striving, and they're going to be gravitating towards that.
Okay.
Anyway, big subject, a whole different subject we're on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I think I have my last question, and it's very simple to answer.
Okay. All right. Good.
Would you recommend us kind of a metaphysics for dummies book or something that we can understand all you know?
Um, I don't read a lot of metaphysics books because I have to spend most of my time discerning whether what they're talking about has any validity. So what I read are new physics books. So really science about how the universe works. Um, and then I combine that with rational philosophical studies. Um, I know a lot of people, Ayn Rand is very controversial, but I like her for her objective reality. Now, she didn't believe in spirituality, so, you know, she has half of the equation, and then I look to physics for the other half. And then beyond that, I just, um, I'll have to look for some books for you. But um, actually, one book, one series of books that I read that I liked, that I didn't have a lot of argument with, was Conversations with God.
Okay.
And I can't remember the author right offhand. It's been a while. Can't remember what his name is. Anyway, Conversations with God. Um, that was really good. I think that would be a good 101 book. I think there's 3 books to that. Um, but other than that, I do more of the science and philosophy and bring it together.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, that was your last question, huh? Good, because we've run out of time.